Leafs Habs gets underway in about 48 hours, but she already knew that. And my next guest knows that too. He's been the head coach of the Leafs since November of 2019, so he knows a little something about the hype that comes with this gig. It's Sheldon Keefe. And hey, I know it's busy days, but I really appreciate you doing this with us.
You got it, Tim. It's nice to get on here. It's a little calm before the storm, but I'm always happy to talk to you.
Nice. Appreciate it. I know things are a little different these days, but you're a Toronto area guy. Can you feel the excitement from the fans? Do you allow yourself to step back and understand you're in the first Leafs-Habs rivalry playoff game since 1979? Or are you just full coach mode, focusing on matchups and what you're about to see?
You know what? I'd say a little bit of both. I think you're consumed with preparation, and you got enough on your plate that you're focused on, and then you couple that with the fact that, I mean, I can't remember the last time I spoke to another human outside my family or anyone that's with us in our facility in person. So you're not getting that same kind of feel and that same vibe that way. But I've been around the game long enough and from the area, as you say, to know what playoff hockey is all about for the Leafs. And then you couple that with the fact now that we're playing against the Habs, which is, as you say, hasn't happened for decades. So it's from that side of it, it's exciting for sure, and I recognize our role in that.
I know you were young back in 1993. Might have been playing with the Young Nats, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe a little too old along that lines, but I remember what the meeting with the Habs would have felt like. And I know that you're focused at the business at hand, and that we all know that health and safety is paramount. But is there a part of you that's going to miss the fans in the stands, knowing what this rivalry can mean?
Well, for sure. I mean, we've missed the fans all season. I mean, I know that had there been fans, we wouldn't have been in the Canadian division likely, if the state of the world was different. But just the fact that we played in a Canadian-only division here, and you had these rivalries all season, and the fans weren't there to take part in it, you missed them. And certainly in the playoffs here now, whether it's our series, or even if you look west with Edmonton and Winnipeg, that in itself, it's a great rivalry that, that's been a while since it's been able to get cooking. So, yeah, we feel that, and we miss the fans for sure. But we also know that people are going to be watching at home. There's millions of people tuning in and interested in this and invested in this. So I think it's terrific, and I think as you reflect on it, how the Canadian division worked out, I think from a league perspective, you probably couldn't have asked for anything more.
No, probably not. You guys basically went wire to wire in this regular season, and by most accounts have the most talent in the North Division. But how much do things change once the postseason starts in the way the game's played?
Well, I think certainly the way the games are played, that's part of it. It's more intense, it's more physical, all those kind of things. I think probably the area of significance that people don't talk enough about is what changes the most in playoffs, I think, is that everybody gets on a level playing field in terms of scheduling, in terms of rest. In a regular season, we might be catching a team that's right on the back end of a really tough road trip or a tough schedule, or maybe they're not, they got some sickness, or maybe, it's a team that's just not playing well and you can capitalize on that, or vice versa. But in the playoffs, everything's even. You're playing against the same team. They're preparing for you. In our case here, Montreal has had an extremely difficult schedule, probably as tough as anybody, other than probably Vancouver down the stretch. But now finally had a week off to prepare for that and recover from that, I should say, and then it's going to welcome people back to their lineup. So you're going to get that, and I think that's why, and you see such tight battles in these first-round series. And then, of course, you just take out the fact that half the league is done, right, and you're only dealing with the upper half of the league. And, this Montreal team's had a bit of a roller coaster type of season with injuries and COVID and all these kind of things, and Don Bouchard taking over there as head coach. But at the start of the season, they were the team that we were really focused on and trying to beat and trying to keep up with. Out of the gates, I remember you referenced it. We've been pretty much wire to wire, but at the start there, it was Montreal that we were trying to chase down, and things have changed there in that sense. But our respect for what they bring certainly is still strong.
Sheldon Keefe joining us here on Tim and Friends. Do your guys feel the weight of the first round, given the past in Toronto?
You know what? I was getting a lot of that question today as well earlier, and I think the way I'd answer it, I guess, is to say that myself as a coach, I certainly feel it. I think as an organization, we feel it and feel the responsibility to our fans, and certainly to a degree, the players, of course, feel that. Then I think rather than attaching it to the history, I think it's more just that it's a significant hurdle to get over. And then right away you go from 16 teams to 8 teams, and it starts to become real, in terms of what you're really competing for. But I think we have a great responsibility here as an organization, and myself as one of the leaders in the organization, to push our team past this. So, yeah, you definitely feel that. When I break it down to our players, however, I think, we certainly have, a section of our team that has been through some of this here in recent years, and I think they definitely feel it and want to push past this. But we've probably got 75% of our roster or greater that has won playoff series, and many of them have won many rounds of playoffs, and some of them have won the Stanley Cup. So we've got all sorts of different experiences on our team, and I think that in itself is what gives us extra confidence going into this.
Yeah, a lot's been made about, obviously, the additions to your team, the grout, if you will, surrounding your young core. Do you feel more comfortable with this group than you did, say, last year?
Yeah, certainly. I think, not only because that young core you referenced has taken a big step here and used, whether it's past failures or just their own maturity and growth here, they've taken significant steps, and they've been extremely focused all season long, and have helped lead our team to regular season success and put ourselves in a favorable position going into the playoffs as the number one seed in the North Division, that's really all we could take care of and control in the regular season. So their growth is a big reason for confidence for us. And then you just look at the additions that we've made, and I think all of these things all add up to us having a greater sense of team, a greater sense of unity, and purpose right from the start of the season. So between our young skill and stars and our depth and experience, camaraderie that we have as a team, I think we're in a far better place going in to this playoff run. That said, it doesn't change the fact that the challenge is difficult, and you got to do the work when the puck drops.
Understood. It's not often a dude goes 17-3-2 with a goals against and a save percentage in the top 10, and it feels like a big decision to name him your game one starter. But this year has been different all around, and I understand that. Is this an old school, this is my starter for the playoffs, or do you plan on using both goalies, especially given the fact that you have guaranteed back-to-backs here?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if there's an easy way to answer that,
Right.
Because of the nature of the back-to-back and the nature of the season, all these kind of things. Well, I think when you reference it being a difficult decision, it certainly was a difficult decision just because of the respect that we have for Frederik Andersen and his capabilities as a goaltender and his experience that he brings. Yeah, not difficult, because you just look at the fact that Jack Campbell has really taken advantage of his opportunity here and has really played extremely well, gotten great results. He's gained traction and confidence himself as a number one goaltender. So we feel really good about that. And I think probably the biggest thing as a coach and as a team is you just have that confidence throughout the goaltending position, and that has grown significantly over the last season, where now not only do you have Frederik Andersen that's ready to play, you have Dave Riddick, and then you have Michael Hutchinson, who had gained his own experience going in a very difficult spot to play for Colorado with the playoffs last year.
Right.
All of a sudden, he's the fourth guy for you, so you feel real confident there. But Jack Campbell's our guy here to get going. But I know, playoffs bring all sorts of twists and turns, and Frederik Andersen's going to be ready.
Do you think the Habs are going to try and push you guys around?
Well, I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think that's a lot of teams, if not all teams, frankly, go into the playoffs looking to assert themselves physically. Montreal's been doing that all season long.
Yeah.
We played them 10 times, so we're no stranger to that. I think you just watch the playoffs the way that they've gone here to start, and you can just see that. It's just a reminder that that's what playoff hockey is about. But again, I just feel really good about our team and our ability to not only handle that, but we're looking to assert ourselves as well. And we've got some guys that are going to be pushing the pace and pushing to set the tone physically. So this is not something where we're afraid to engage in any type of play. Whichever way the game is going to go, we feel pretty confident in our ability to not just respond, but also initiate.
Yeah, it's an interesting give and take, and obviously playoffs penalties mean something. And I was watching last night, and I was watching Brad Marchand, and I'm repeatedly shocked by how often he is willing to pay the price to do whatever it takes game after game after game. And I get that he's kind of built that way, but in the past, there have been folks who have questioned whether your young core has that kind of sacrifice in them, or if they've had to have it because of how talented they are growing up. How do you respond to that? How do you see that in your team? And is that something that you believe is learned?
Well, I think it's a bit of both. I think part of it is ingrained in you and who you are as a player and who you are as a person, your personality, your temperament, your competitiveness. Some of that, without a doubt, though, is learned, and it comes through trials and tribulations and all of that. I mean, expert on the history of Brad Marchand or any other player in the league necessarily, but even those guys took time in the league to really find themselves and find their identity, and for their team to find their identity. So it's a natural growing process for any team and any player, and we feel good about where we're at with the growth of our guys. They know how difficult it is to compete at this time of the year. And just in case, we need reminders along the way, through the regular season or certainly now at the most important time of the year, we've got lots of experience around them that we didn't have in the past either.
Yeah, and there's no shame in that. Like, I think a lot of people might be watching and going, oh, I'm taking a dig at them. Like Gretzky's famous story about walking by the Islanders' room after they swept them and thinking they're going to be celebrating a championship, and he saw them, icing their wounds, and they had expended too much to even savor a Stanley Cup win. Like, this is something that almost every team kind of sort of has to go through, no?
Well, I think even, if I just focus on recent history, I think about the Tampa Bay Lightning and what they went through as dominant President Cup winners, getting swept by Columbus, to the coming back with a vengeance last season and getting it done. And you look at Washington, St. Louis, all the way down the line, these teams in recent history, they had lots of years of trying to find themselves and trying to figure it out, and then it happens for you. You break through. So, I think it is as difficult as it is to accept and to look at, because of, the fans have been so patient and have been through so much here. It is a process, but it's one in which our team is, feels like they've grown to the point that they're ready to push. There's no excuses. There's no looking back. It's all in on this opportunity that we have here, and the guys feel really good about it, and they're very excited to get going.
You can feel it, and you can feel what you just said about the fans too. And I know that it's been talked about among the fans. Last one here, and it might be a tougher one. It's also been talked about in the media. But do you know how you guys define success this season?
Well, I think you define success on whether or not you're able to win the Stanley Cup. That's the first thing. Only one team gets to experience that, and there's a lot of things along the way. And that's ultimately what we've been focused on right from day one of training camp. I think that's big picture focus, and that's exactly what we continue to work towards, and we put ourselves in a great spot for that. We feel like we can compete for that. But it's my responsibility as the coach to zoom in that focus. We got to win game one. We got to win game one on Thursday night, and we got to look to win game two, and so on and so on. We got to look to get through the first round. And if we don't take that kind of approach, things will get away on us. So we've been really focused on a process, day-to-day detail from the start of training camp, and that's not going to change for us.
Hey, listen, I know it's a grind right now. We thank you for doing this with us and by extension, hockey fans in Canada. Really appreciate it.
You got it, Tim. Be well. Thank you.